थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
ओके सर।
आप कहाँ पर हैं सर?
सर केवी के शहडोल, JNKVV, जबलपुर, मध्य प्रदेश।
अच्छा अच्छा, आप 3-4 लोग एक जगह से हैं?
जी 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 सर। हाँ, संजय सर भी हमारे सीनियर है सर, और धनंजय सर भी हमारे सीनियर है। जी जी जी। ओके, थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू। आप अपना, हेलो
सर,
आप अपना वीडियो थोड़ी देर ऑन रखेंगे ना, सो अदर पैनलिस्ट दे विल एबल टू रिकॉग्नाइज यू कि यही हमारे भगत जी हैं। अदरवाइज आप बगल से निकल जाओगे, उन्हें पता नहीं चलेगा कौन।
नहीं सर, जानते हैं सर, वो लास्ट टाइम हम दिल्ली गए थे, अभी जैसे सर ने बताया कि हम फार्मर इंटरेक्शन, जो बहुत बड़ा नास कॉम्प्लेक्स है पूसा न्यू दिल्ली में हुआ था, तो उसमें गए हुए थे सर। उसमें वो माननीय मंत्री महोदय रूपाला और चौधरी तोमर, जो कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर्स हैं, उनके साथ में इंटरेक्शन हुआ था।
ओके ओके, नहीं आपस में इंटरेक्ट कीजिए, सो वंस यू विल बी देयर देन ओनली यू विल एबल टू इंटरेक्ट विद अस।
कल तो सर मुझे जब सर्टिफिकेट्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हो रहे थे तब मुझे पता लगा कि JNKV से कम से कम 7-8 लोग हैं। नहीं तो पता ही नहीं लग रहा था कि हमारे होस्ट इंस्टीट्यूट से इतने सारे लोग हैं।
नहीं, इसमें से सर 3-4 लोगों को नहीं सेलेक्ट किया गया, तब ये हैं।
नहीं, इवन सर्टिफिकेट्स भी जिन लोगों को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हुए हैं ना, उनमें भी 5-6-7 लोग हैं।
हाँ, उसमें भी है, बिकॉज वी रिसीव्ड ऑलमोस्ट मोर देन 12 एप्लीकेशन फ्रॉम योर सेंटर।
हाँ
12 से ज्यादा थे उसमें।
लेकिन सर ये मतलब बहुत अप्रिशिएबल है, आपने ट्रेनिंग बहुत अच्छे से ऑर्गेनाइज की सर।
See, when we discuss ना, तो सबका ये कहना था कि because KBK people they are getting least opportunity for such type of training ना।
जी।
तो कमिटी वाज ऑफ द व्यू कि नहीं, बाकी लोगों के पास तो अपॉर्चुनिटी है कि कहीं भी होगा वो फिट बैठ जाते हैं, बट KBK से लोग फिट नहीं बैठ पाते हैं।
जी।
So that's why we decided no, let us give a try। जो भी KBK से डालेगा, अगर वो इस एरिया से रिलेटेड है तो उनको सेलेक्ट करो।
नहीं सर, एक्चुअल में क्या है, हम लोग, मेरा इंटरेस्ट यही था कि अभी Program-Day पे हमारा जो एरिया है, बैतूल डिस्ट्रिक्ट जो है MP का, अभी बिल्कुल अननोन है। बाजरा नहीं करते हैं यहाँ पे, मक्का होता है और ज्वार होता है, लेकिन बाजरा बिल्कुल नहीं होता है।
हाँ जी।
तो थोड़ा सा हम अभी इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स आए हैं हमारे पास में, जिसमें हमको मतलब बाजरा को प्रमोट करना है। तो ट्रेनिंग हमारे लिए मतलब काफी सपोर्टिव है, ये वाली बहुत अच्छा मतलब वो मिला है।
हाँ जी। गुड मॉर्निंग डॉक्टर सुभाष। गुड मॉर्निंग डॉक्टर आकांक्षा तिवारी जी।
गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
गुड मॉर्निंग। सुभाष सर आज शांत हैं, क्या बात है?
जी सर,
आज आप शांत लग रहे हो। आर यू रियली मिसिंग ऑल ऑफ अस?
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं सर, अभी ये नेटवर्क कुछ प्रॉब्लम चल रही थी, उसको सेट कर रहा था मैं।
ओके।
जी।
हाँ आकांक्षा।
यस सर, गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
हाँ, पहचान रही हैं?
बिल्कुल सर, आपको नहीं पहचानूंगी सर, आपने मुझे पढ़ाया है।
और आजमगढ़ में
कैसे हैं सर?
बस बढ़िया है।
जी सर, आजमगढ़ में हूँ सर।
अच्छा, हम आपके घर और आप हमारे घर।
जी सर।
रीवा नगर है आपका?
जी सर।
हमारा वहीं गाजीपुर है।
अच्छा सर।
धनंजय सर, गुड मॉर्निंग।
हाँ, गुड मॉर्निंग भगत जी।
गुड मॉर्निंग। वो बहुत मिस कर रहे हैं सर आपको। शेड्यूल विजिट करिए सर कभी। बस बढ़िया, बहुत अच्छे सर हम तो।
आएंगे
जी,
आएंगे शेड्यूल।
हाँ सर, अब पास ही में है तो कभी ऐसा हो सर। जी बिल्कुल, मोस्ट वेलकम सर।
हाँ नहीं, थैंक यू।
जी।
Dr. Suneha, can you please give a call to Dr. Salni? So So we are 23 now. So we have Dr. Akhilesh Kumar Patel Saab. Dr. Saab, can you please switch on your video? Dr. Akhilesh, can you please switch on your video? So maybe he's not there. Good morning, Dr. Monica.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Raghavendra.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I was saying that rather than e-manual, we have planned that we'll go for the book, and then we got a good publisher also. And we have finalized the write-up of most of the speakers. So this is opportunity for some of you, those are working in the area of pearl millet. So if really you want to contribute, you can contribute in the form of chapters. You can make a group and you can contribute that. And we have 15 days with us. So if you really wish, so we'll receive your chapter and then that will be incorporated in the book. So that book is the outcome of your training program.
Okay.
So,
Sir, please send the theme in the email.
Madam, it will be, the theme is same as the title of your this training program, that is Journey of Pearl Millet from Land to Lab to Plate. So you have 3 aspects, that is land, lab and plate. So any 3 of this you can select.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning, Shalini ma'am.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Ranjit. How are you?
Yeah, fine, ma'am. So I think let me change the rename.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, ma'am.
सर जैसे अगर टेंटेटिव टाइटल चैप्टर्स के हमें पता चल जाए, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल इफ वी आर आल्सो राइटिंग ऑन मीन सम बुक चैप्टर, और जो कि ऑलरेडी कोई और कर रहा हो, तो सर फिर वो डुप्लीकेशन भी हो जाएगी। और हम ये चाह रहे थे कि अगर आप जो आपके चैप्टर फाइनलाइज हैं, अगर उनकी डिटेल शेयर हो जाए तो वी कैन थिंक ऑफ अदर एस्पेक्ट आल्सो।
Yeah. So, ma'am, whatever invitee speakers you have heard from last 11 days.
Yes,
So
sir.
we are going to include their write-up. So other than that, whatever you wish related to pearl millet, you can.
Okay, sir.
Right?
Okay, sir.
Anything, because see, we don't know, we don't want you to put in a bound. So you are free. Other than the invitee speaker's title, you can select any title and then you can draft.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So I think we'll wait for 5 minutes and then we'll start.
Yeah, until then, may I know, unfortunately, I couldn't join in your valedictory yesterday. So I would like to know the trainees a bit better so that I can relate to them.
Yeah, sure, ma'am, sure. So I request all the panelists or trainees, please briefly introduce yourself, just your name and from which place you are, your area of specialization.
Yeah,
please,
that would be
one by
wonderful.
one.
Thank you.
Yeah, it will be good.
Good morning, ma'am. I am Dr. Akanksha Tiwari and I am working as an assistant professor at College of Agriculture, Ajamgarh, Acharya Narendra University of Agriculture and Technology, Ayodhya.
Oh, wonderful. We have
Hello.
a student from your college in our division, Ajit Singh. Probably you have taught him.
No, ma'am. Actually, I have joined just 1 year before.
So many more are going to come, I believe.
Yeah,
nice
ma'am.
To meet you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello.
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 Good morning.
Please go ahead.
I am Dr. Sanjay Jain, working in Krishi Vigyan Kendra, Baitul, Madhya Pradesh. Basically, we are our host university is Jawaharlal Nehru Krishi Vishwavidyalaya, Jabalpur. So, thank you, madam.
Thank you.
So, what is your area of work, sir?
Madam, basically, we are. I am engaging in a seed production program of the soybean and chickpea, sometimes wheat also. And we are being a personnel of KVK, we have to go to the extension works also. Recently, we have got some projects on minor millets and that pearl millet and other millets also. We are working extension work actually and promoting the new varieties and high yielding varieties to for the farmer community.
Okay, wonderful. So that means, of course, you have been involved in the varietal progression, but then in order to increase the farmer of the incomes, the way forward is processing. So you're at the right place. Yeah, that's wonderful. Nice to meet you.
2022 तक मैडम डबल करना है ना फार्मर का इनकम.
आप ही के दारोमदार पर है ये सब कुछ.
जी जी जी, थैंक यू थैंक यू थैंक यू.
Hello.
Good morning, madam. Good morning, madam. Myself, Raghavendra. I am working in Acharya Engineering Agriculture University, Department of Biochemistry in Guntur, madam. Basically, I am in teaching. Thank you, ma'am.
So what is your area of specialization?
In abiotic stress, madam. In abiotic stress, the research which we are involved is in abiotic stress, basically. In areas of antioxidant activity of various enzymes and everything. And basically, much of the time we will spend in teaching and teaching activities.
That's nice. So you're honing up your skills, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, I am Dr. Anita. I am working as assistant professor in Department of Nutrition Biology, Central University of Haryana.
Yes,
I think you might remember me.
Of course. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, ma'am. Same here, ma'am. So I am working on development and quality evaluation of underused crops of Haryana. So this is my expertise area.
Okay, wonderful. So pearl millet definitely comes under the major crops of Haryana. So
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
She's a very active researcher, I must say, all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
And a wonderful friend also.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. Hello.
Good morning.
Myself, Dhananjay Singh, working as a scientist agronomy, कृषि विज्ञान केंद्र सीधी मध्य प्रदेश.
जी, बहुत अच्छा. आपका पढ़ाई सर किसमें है?
हमारा पढ़ाई एग्रोनॉमी पंतनगर से एमएससी और पीएचडी किए हैं.
अच्छा जी. तो आपका मोस्टली अभी तक एग्रोनॉमी का रहा है, लेकिन आई एम श्योर आप जब फील्ड्स में जाते हैं तो आपके पास क्वेरीज भी आती होंगी कि किस तरह से इनके प्रोडक्ट्स बना सकें, है ना?
जी हाँ.
क्योंकि केवीके में तो सब कुछ करना पड़ता है ना?
हाँ. हमारे केवीके में और इस ट्रेनिंग में भी हैं डॉक्टर अलका सिंह, होम साइंटिस्ट. तो हम लोगों का फील्ड में सब एक साथ ही विजिट होता है, तो हर तरह के क्वेश्चन आते हैं, क्वेरी आती हैं. कोई किसी सब्जेक्ट से रिलेटेड नहीं रहता है, एनिमल साइंस से भी आएगा, सॉइल साइंस से, सभी चीजों से. कभी कभी तो अपने हेल्थ के बारे में भी पूछने लगते हैं लोग.
बिल्कुल. और सब कुछ पता होना चाहिए उनको, ये समझते हैं कि उनको सब कुछ आता होना चाहिए. सो वेरी नाइस टू सी यू सर.
थैंक यू मैडम, थैंक यू.
गुड मॉर्निंग मैम. हेलो
जी, गुड मॉर्निंग.
जी, गुड मॉर्निंग. माय सेल्फ भागवत पंडरे, कृषि विज्ञान केंद्र शहडोल. आई एम वर्किंग एज ए प्रोग्राम असिस्टेंट एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री. यस मैम.
ये कहाँ पर पड़ता है जी?
जी मैडम, ये अंडर द जवाहरलाल नेहरू एग्रीकल्चर यूनिवर्सिटी, JNKV, जबलपुर, MP.
अच्छा, वेरी नाइस.
हाँ, एडजॉइनिंग डिस्ट्रिक्ट ऑफ द सीधी.
अच्छा. अभी मैं रिसेंटली मध्य प्रदेश गई थी एंड इट वाज अ प्लेजेंट एक्सपीरियंस. बहुत सिंपल और मतलब अच्छे लोग हैं वहाँ पर, मतलब बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था.
थैंक यू मैडम.
जी.
किस डिस्ट्रिक्ट में गए थे मैडम?
हम लोग गोरखपुर गए थे. गोरखपुर नहीं, सॉरी, ये क्या है, चित्रकूट. केवी के चित्रकूट गए थे हम लोग.
जी, सतना.
जी
जी हम लोगों का एरिया उसका एडजॉइनिंग ही है, सीधी, शहडोल, रीवा,
नहीं
सतना।
बहुत मुझे लगा कि वहां पर लोगों में सीखने की चाह है और
जी
बहुत
जी
सिंपल लोग हैं और वो मतलब एक्चुअली में वो लोग प्रोग्रेस करना चाहते हैं, तो लाइक दे आर द बेस्ट पीपल टू वर्क विद।
जी जी बहुत सिंपलिसिटी है इधर अभी।
जी जी
जी
So shall we start our computer day?
one or two more people are remaining, no? Mohammed Shamid.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah.
Myself, Mohammed Samim, working as assistant professor at Dr. Kalam Agricultural College under Bihar Agriculture University, Sabor, Bhagalpur. I am working on pineapple cultivation, their characterization, and tissue culture as plant.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
Good morning,
Side
ma'am.
by side, I am also working on the collection and their characterization, ma'am.
Very nice.
Basically, I am a biotechnologist, ma'am.
Okay, nice to see you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. Hello.
Ji ma'am, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. Myself, Dr. Alpna Sharma. I am working as home scientist in KVK Sherdol. And basically, I am a food scientist, and we are trying to initiate the nutritional upliftment of tribal people through locally available materials such as drumstick and mahua, etc., and working on it.
So आप तो मेरी बहन ही हैं।
जी बिल्कुल
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। These are very passionate issues which actually are required on land.
और मेन बात ये है कि आप जैसे आप लोग जो भी रिसर्च करते हैं, केवीके वाले जब उसको फोर फ्रंट में जाके ट्राइबल्स के बीच में उसको ले जाते हैं और उसका एक्सेप्टेंस मिलता है, दैट इज ओनली द सक्सेस ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी। और हम लोग बहुत हार्डशिप लेते हैं केवीके साइंटिस्ट, एक एक टेक्निक को ले जाके, और मतलब और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि हमारी कम्युनिटी बहुत अच्छी है, ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी है, तो इनके बीच में काम करने में बहुत मजा आता है।
I'm sure.
ये भी हैं ये लोग, और इनको एक्चुअली जरूरत है हमारी, इनके बीच में इंटेलेक्चुअल लोगों की जरूरत है और उनको अपनी बातें रखने की जरूरत है। हमें जो इस ट्रेनिंग में बहुत सारे ट्रेडिशनल मेथड्स बताए गए, और वो हम लोग जानते थे ट्रेडिशनल मेथड्स, लेकिन उनके इम्पोर्टेंस बताए गए, तो वो सारी चीजें बहुत मतलब काफी यूजफुल है और हम लोग उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट करेंगे।
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, so you all panelists, now we have interacted with Dr. Shalini. So it's the customary, so I will just give a brief introduction about Dr. Shalini. Dr. Shalini Gaur Rudra, she is scientist at Food Science and Post Harvest Technology IRI, and she is decorated with many awards like Fellow of Society of Plant Research, Best Feature Article Award, Young Scientist Award, and she has many Best Poster Awards. She has wide range of experience in teaching, training, and research. She has worked in various capacity in organizations like Thapa University, IGNO, the National Production Council before joining this ICR. And regarding her research experience, so she has been working in the field of post-harvest technology for shelf-life enhancement of horticultural produces, then processing of nutri-cereals, pseudo-cereals. Then she have also worked on edible coating, nanofibers, nano-emulsion, extrusion processing, many more, which is very long. And 60 research paper in high impact journal, and she is also involved in projects for capacity building of farm women across North India. So with this brief introduction, I invite Dr. Shalini for today's talk. Dr. Shalini. Please unmute yourself. Dr. Shalini, please unmute yourself.
And decorated scientist. Yeah, I am unmuted. Hello.
You're not, yes. No.
I'm not audible?
No, fine. No, it's fine. Please go ahead.
It's fine. Okay. So thank you, Dr. Suneha. She herself is such a dedicated and decorated scientist, I must say, and a close friend also. And yes, so basically, it's a pleasure to be here on this platform on the final day. So you might be recalling me much better. So I take it as an advantage to be fine at the end or of the your training session. So what I basically work on are pseudo cereals and millets, and the best way basically we all have been involved in consumption of them in staple foods, in the form of porridge, in the form of laddus. So what struck to my mind was that somehow we have to make consumption of these products an enjoyable experience. So how do we make consumption of these products into an enjoyable and a fashionable statement? So that is what drove me to in the past 5 years, and I have been working in the development of various products, characterization of various cultivars from millets. Particularly, my favorites are, of course, pearl millet is one of them, but barnyard millet is one of my favorites. And wherever I can substitute rice, I prefer barnyard millet, which is actually a very hardy crop where nothing else grows. These millets grow very easily, even in the degraded soils, which are very common nowadays, and where there's no water, the land is saline. These crops can grow very well. And apart from that, another area which is very close to my heart is the use of pseudo cereals. So pseudo cereals, we have been traditionally consuming only in the fasts, religious fasts, and it's been customary to incorporate them into our diets. For example, we have barnyard millet is kuttu. We have other, like we have quinoa, we have amaranth, that is cholai. So somehow or the other, at the whenever there is a transition of seasons in March or October, we are consuming these pseudo cereals, and very aptly so, because they are so rich in nutraceuticals, in the phenolic compounds, in the micronutrients which are required to override these seasonal variations which are taking place during March and October, during like when the summer is changing to winters, or winter is changing to summers. So at that point of time, our immunity really needs a boost, and these are the products which actually enable us to overcome these seasonal variations. So so I have been working on these pseudo cereals and millets particularly for nutritional security and sustainability. Okay, so I'm sorry, the for is missing in my title slide.
तो मैनुअल निकाल लो। मेल में निकालने के बाद सर ने ये बोला डिडक्शन वाला जो भी है अपना
Can you please unmute yourself?
डिडक्शन वाले पेपर्स इकट्ठे कर लेते हैं। निकले रखे हैं क्या पूरे? सेल से निकाल ले।
Dr. Sanjay. Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, one second, my screen has frozen. One second.
हेलो
1 second, my screen has frozen. Just a minute.
अच्छा
So how
Dr. Sal. Dr. Salni. Maybe I think there was some technical problem over there. So she is not present in this group now. Ma'am. Again, you have to share your slides.
Yeah, I joined with another device actually. One second until my slide starts. So basically, yeah.
Ma'am, actually there is some technical, I think, internet connection problem. Your voice is also not audible.
Okay, 1 second. Am I audible now?
Yeah, please share your slides and then you can go ahead.
Other device, Dr. G. And until my laptop restarts, I have joined with my other device.
But again, voice is not audible, ma'am.
What to do?
I think if you can connect with the phone.
Yeah, I'm connected with my tab. I'll start with my third device.
Because there is internet issue, I think.
Let me see. Until now, it was clear, no?
Yeah. Suddenly there was a fluctuation and then voice and slides both gone off.
Yeah, happens. Hang on. I've joined with 3 devices now. Okay. Yeah.
Ma'am, what you can do is you can talk on phone and then slides you can send it to Dr. Suneha. She will run on your behalf.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, that will be easy.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So basically, when we are consuming these.
Ma'am.
Yeah. 1 second. 1 second. So when we are consuming these products, normally they are in the form of either porridge or chapati or laddus. So we would like to make consumption of these products into a fashion statement or something like something which we'll really enjoy and relish, and which we can actually, which the farmers actually can sell in the market, and they can earn a good income from it, and it should be an upscale market, upscale product, which is going to be fetching them a lot of revenue. So in this direction I have been working. Yeah, Dr. Suneha.
Please share your screen.
1 second, I'm joining again. Listen.
I think send me your slides. I will share from here.
Yeah. Wait. So until my slides come, I'm talking. Okay. So basically, we would like to add value to these products so that these products are up end and they can earn a higher revenue compared to the conventional products which we are consuming. So amongst these pseudo cereals, first of all, are amaranth and quinoa. So and amaranth and quinoa, they are again, like, it's been year 2013 was the international year of quinoa, and the production of this quinoa has been suggested in the arid regions of Rajasthan, Gujarat, and
आवाज
Karnataka.
मान लो हम कुछ ही आवाज आई हमसे
कोई प्रॉब्लम है जी? Yeah, I'm sending my slides over, Dr. Sneha. 1 second here. Okay, so what we are going to do today, we are going to know about the quality characteristics of quinoa, and then know their functional characteristics, and their phytocytosis. 1 second, please. 1 second. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. 1 second.
We are logging from two places, so there is echo of two different devices. So either mute from one side.
Hello, Dr. Suneha, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's better that ma'am, she should go on giving a talk only. Slides, so later on we'll share with the panelist.
Okay. Dr. Chani, are you here?
Ma'am, she can also send the slide, presentation to you through mail or something, and you can share it.
Yeah, that is not running, Dr. Pravesh. So there is some
Okay.
issue with that slides.
Okay, sir.
We tried that. So I think she can give a talk and then slides that I will share with you. Because these are some of the disadvantages of virtual platform. So you never know when problem will start.
Yeah, actually, I sat at in my office. There is no network at all.
Okay.
So I started my home, and today, in 99% of the times, it works
And
perfectly
we
fine.
so ma'am, what we'll do is that directly you can give a talk, interactive talk, and then slides that we'll share later on. So that
Yeah, I'm trying once more. I've mailed to Dr. Suneha. Are you able
Hanji.
to see my screen now?
No, yeah, it's visible, ma'am.
Yeah, let's hope. Oh, perfect. So it's running now.
Yeah,
So
please go ahead.
my system does not support anybody else speaking. It seems. So I request everybody to unmute themselves before I start, and definitely we'll have ample time to interact. Okay. So please bear with this technical glitch which I'm having. So currently what we are having is we've had over the past 50 years, we've had predominantly rice, wheat and maize. And the area under cereals production is pretty high. However, it's like if I say, if I come to my kitchen and I start using only three of the ingredients in my diet, and whereas I'm having abundance of so many vegetables and fruits and pulses in my kitchen. So this is similar to that situation, that I'm not making use of the resources which have been provided, and definitely I'm depriving myself and the community of and my family of so many abundant materials which are present with us. So this is the same situation which applies to our global society also, that despite being provided with ample diversity in terms of crops, we have been using only 1% of the genetic pool, which is definitely which was definitely bound to have some implications sooner or later, right? So we have awakened to these facts because of the persistent climate change and pests and diseases. They are because we are doing monocropping, so we have same types of pests and diseases coming up, and then multiplying very nicely, because they know that in this area these are the crops which are going to grow, and we are not providing enough variety to the flora and fauna of our land. So, and definitely the lack of dietary diversity and lifestyle disorders is definitely a problem. And that has led to so many lifestyle diseases, and which needs to be rectified as soon as possible. And most of the educated people have started consuming more of the traditional and the other, whatever diversification they can bring about in their diets, they are bringing. So, however, since we haven't really worked upon we haven't really worked upon these crops much in terms of the developments which took place in the other crops, we have the products which remain in our plate are only khichdi or chapati or laddus. So we need to progress beyond that, and that is what is going to be the crux of my practical today. So the nature has presented us with pseudo cereals and millets, which are naturally hardy. They can grow in diverse agroclimatic conditions, even in these like quinoa. It grows even in the hilly regions. It came from Andes mountains. Even in the northeast, it is a major crop. Buckwheat is one of the other crops in which I started working. In fact, I was introduced to this crop by a scientist from Northeast itself, and that is providing them substantial nutritional security also. And certain compounds like rutin are very difficult to find elsewhere. So which is having beneficial effects in diabetes, which is actually impacting 50 to 55% of the population of India right now. So these crops are suitable for growing for green cultivation, They do not require any artificial fertilizers, pesticides, nor they require much of tilling of the land. So the makeup of the land is also not affected. And we don't require too many agricultural inputs. And however, of course, the crop is easier to grow, but then we need to bring it to a level which is acceptable to the masses. So these are highly nutritious, they are gluten free, and many of the people are having irritable bowel syndrome, and they are allergic to gluten, and sometimes abstinence from gluten helps relieve these symptoms. So another very nice aspect is that they are unexplored. So it gives us ample scope to work upon them. Any development which is considered a very normal thing for normal conventional cereals is uh, is very exciting for being made in the other crops. For example, when I made pasta from millets and the pseudo cereals the first time, it was really exciting and it was really paying and enriching. So that gives us a sense of accomplishment also to the scientists and researchers. And yes, I don't shy myself in saying that the Western diet was much more refined with high fat and high sugar, and the consumption of whiter and more refined sugar, whiter grains, whiter flour, that was considered upend. However, the transition is required that yes, colored grains are in vogue nowadays. Purple wheat, the brown colored ragi, chocolate colored products from ragi, finger millet, they are in, and they should be so. So the major and minor millets, they include pearl millet, and I would like to use their Hindi names also, so that we are able to relate to them in a better way. So pearl millet, bajra, sorghum is jowar, and finger millet is ragi. So most of the work till now has focused on use of sorghum. Sorghum is the major millet, and there is Directorate of Sorghum Research also. And there are so many products from sorghum, and it's much more easier to process. Reason being, it doesn't possess much of the insoluble dietary fiber. And however, that is a constraint in pearl millet and finger millet also. So in terms of minor millets, they are barnyard millet, which is quite similar to rice in properties, while being rich in dietary fiber and micronutrients. We have little millet, that is kutki, kodo, foxtail is kangni, and proso is barri. So wherever these youngsters are going in for for whey protein concentrates and isolates for building up the muscles, and they're going to the gym to build up their abs. So this proso millet is something which can really help. So that can be promoted as a product for building up the muscle mass. And this is one idea which I'm sharing with you. So which might be worked upon by some of the people in your group. And amongst the pseudo cereals, we have amaranth, that is cholai, buckwheat, that is kuttu, and quinoa. So quinoa is not a new crop actually. Like in India, in the Himachal Pradesh, quinoa is consumed conventionally, and there are so many cultivars which have been brought about, and some of the cultivars are even buff colored, and they do not have they do not impart any undesirable color also to the product. But quinoa processing is a bit tricky. It has lots of saponins on its seed coat, and they need to be removed by either polishing or washing. So this is this is a nutritive value of these millets.
अरे वो बहुत लफड़ा रहता है यार, वो पगला है आधे से ज्यादा, तो दिक्कत तो वो है।
सर जी आप प्लीज म्यूट कर लीजिए अपने आप को।
हाँ, बहुत बड़ा साफ समझता अपने आप को, दिक्कत वो है। वो फोन से ही बात कर लो, उसको बात करो।
Dr. Khare, please unmute yourself. So this is the nutritive value of these millets compared to wheat, rice, and maize.
डालिए सर उसमें बाद में कभी ऐसा जरूरी नहीं यही रहेगा वो होना चाहिए और शिक्षा उससे
Dr. Suneha, can you unmute? Can you mute him?
ये ऐसा पार्ट था कि पहले एग्रो इकोलॉजी के बारे में पता चल गया आ जाएगा तो मना नहीं करें कितने आ जाएगा बताइए
Can you mute him? Yeah. So we have, if you look into this table, we have calcium content in the range of 7 to 39. Okay. And calcium content in finger millet is extremely high. So wherever we need to fortify our diets with calcium, we can incorporate finger millet in the diets. If you look into iron content, so we have like wherever iron fortification is required in the diets, or any food which requires to be enriched with iron, which is like anemia is a major problem. 55 to 60% of the population is suffering from anemia. So the iron content in wheat rice is pretty less compared to what is available in sorghum and pearl millet and even finger millet and barnyard millet. So definitely we should be incorporating these crops wherever it is possible, or admixing these crops in the compositions which we are bringing about, or new products which are being developed. In terms of dietary fiber, you can see that the dietary fiber is also pretty high. In wheat, it is a bit high, but then upon refinement, the fiber content goes away. And most of the snack foods which we are talking of, they use refined wheat, right? So this advantage actually goes away. Next comes the fat content. Yes, fat content is a bit higher in millets, however, and however it is a desirable fat. The fatty acids profile is very balanced, and it provides the essential fatty acids, and is not contributing to the low density lipoproteins. In terms of protein also, you can see that the content of the protein is also very high in proto millet and foxtail millet. So this is what I was talking of, that those youngsters going to the gym, they need to be told about these benefits of higher protein in their diet from conventional products, conventional millets, and they are also going to enrich them with the micronutrients and dietary fiber, which is also required for their well-being. So so this is a one second. Yeah. So this is about we are talking mostly on the pearl millet. So I'm sure you have been hearing about it for the past 10 days, but let me reiterate that the carbohydrate content is pretty good, and the dietary fiber content is very high. It is much higher than rice, although it is similar to maize. The consumption of pearl millet is known to reduce the symptoms of depression also, and it reduces the incidences of inflammatory bowel syndromes and cardiovascular diseases. It promotes the quality of life in diabetics. It reduces the amount of the bowel problems in most of the city dwellers. So coming to now the proteins in pearl millet. So proteins, they are very it is one of the richest source of proteins in terms of millets. So after proso millet and little millet, so the it has 11.8% protein, and However, the oats, wheat, and rice are having a bit higher, but then the amino acids content and the protein quality is much better, and it offers a much more balanced sort of a profile compared to the wheat, rice, and oats. Also, it has low content of methionine, so the formulations with from pearl millet may need to be supplemented with pulse for product development. So, looking into the effects of processing, since I'm a processing person, I'll be talking of that. So, processing we do for converting them into edible form, and they can be converted into flour. They can be roasted. It can be popped. It can be sprouted also. However, this sprouting needs to be very carefully done so that the cyanide content does not enhance. Then they can be made into ready to eat grains by popping. It can be made into porridge, or it can be fermented. So what is the effect of processing on pearl millet? So in earlier times, no, just maybe 15 to 20 years back, there was a talk of anti-nutrients. Now the anti-nutrients are basically tannins, polyphenolics, dietary fibers, and chelators, which used to bind with the mineral content in our bowels, and they in our intestine or the gut, and they did not allow the absorption of nutrients. However, as science progressed, these same anti-nutrients are now being redefined as nutraceuticals and phytoceuticals, offering nutraceutical benefits in terms of countering cardiovascular diseases, the carcinogenic or cancer inducing agents. So whatever anti-nutrients were there, they are now redefined, and they are now taken into a positive note, taken with a positive note. So decortication means dehulling. It is accompanied by removal of outer grains. And in pearl millet, the fraction of the husk varies. And when we are decorticating, the amount of phytic acid, which inhibits the absorption of phosphorus, polyphenols, and tannin content, they decrease. And also the digestibility of the proteins increases. When we are milling, in fact, there have been certain studies in which milling and the treatment with heat, they lowered the polyphenolic content and phytic acid, and improved the digestibility of the proteins as well as starch to a significant extent. And this holds true with most of the pseudo cereals and millets also. For example, amaranth and buckwheat, they are considered difficult to digest. However, when we are milling them and giving them appropriate heat treatment, the digestibility of the proteins and the availability of the starch, that improves much better. And the type of carbohydrates in the rapidly digestible segment, they are much less compared to the slow, medium, and slow digesting starch fractions. So the carbohydrate content in pearl millet is fairly reasonably good. For the fermentation, there are many fermented products like furra and other such products prepared in Africa from pearl millet, and they also decrease the amount of anti-nutritional factors, and in vitro protein digestibility is improved. And much more the complex storage proteins, they are made into a much more bioavailable and simpler forms, which can be rapidly um, assimilated in the bodies. In certain processes, mild acid treatment is given to pearl millet to improve upon the color as well as the milling efficiency. So the acid treatment leads to improvement in the extracted amount of phosphorus, calcium, and iron when we are prolonging the amount of acid treatment, the duration of the acid treatment. Coming to now the heat treatment. So lipase, I'm sure many of you, many of the speakers must have enlightened you on this aspect, that heat treatment retards the lipase activity and minimizes the lipid decomposition. And in most of the processing which we are doing involves heat processing, so lipase gets inactivated. So for the KVK persons particularly, I made this slide that what is the effect of processing on the nutritional and the and the phytoceuticals which are present in pearl millet. So you can use this. That is the pratioxykarak. Those who are not complacent with Hindi, I'll tell you. The decortication decreases the polyphenolics, that antioxidant activity. However, it is not reduced too much. Then phytic acids and phenolics, they decrease. The amino acids content and undigestible starch fiber, they are decreased, and the digestibility of the starch and proteins are increased. So similarly, you can have the effect of decortication, roasting, acidification, hot water treatment. Then you have extrusion, that is utkrashtikaran. Then you have the roast effect of popping. Then germination, and kinvikaran is fermentation. So in my division, Dr. Jha is there, and he's the professor right now, and he has prepared extruded products from pearl millet, and I was lucky to be involved in those experiments also. And we prepared pearl millet based extrudates, and we determined the effect of extrusion on the digestibility and the bioavailability of micronutrients, and the type of resistant starches which are present. So in fact, one of my students worked on the on effect of extrusion conditions on the resistant starches fraction, and how the digestibility was altered when we are extruding at various temperatures and screw speed profiles. And also the effect of moisture content was also having a major role. So there is a lot of varietal implications on what type of product is going to come out when we are using different types of different cultivars of pearl millet also. For example, in case we have the higher amylose in pearl millet varieties, the digestible, the amount of resistant starch is higher. So that also leads to implications in the scaling rate of the products, of baked products, which are going to come out with that sort of a floor. However, there are other varieties in which the amylopectin content is higher. So there is going to be a variation in types, in terms of amount of resistant starch which is going to be generated, the type of energy input which we are going to require to process it, and also the type of the characteristics and the storage characteristics also of the product which is going to come out. And that is a very interesting study. And so such type of studies have not actually been done on pearl millet. So the type of starch, what is the amount of what is the type of process parameters which we need to actually apply to these starches to modify them, so as to achieve a product which is suppose we are making a product for Weight Watchers, or we are making a product for convalescents, or we are making a product for diabetics, or we are making a product for children. So the requirements of the product is definitely going to be different, and we should be using different cultivars and also different process to actually make out a product. So coming now to quinoa. So quinoa is also called as quinoa, and it is from Chenopodium, and the seeds of the Chenopodium or Bathua, but it is not the same bathua as we have in the plains. But this quinoa is grown in the hilly regions, in the colder regions, and lots of cultivars are also available for this. So quinoa has a very high protein content. The biological value of protein is pretty high. It has all essential amino acids, and one serving is able to meet more than like 1.5 times the dietary requirement of school children and the dietary requirement of adults. So even if you're consuming a little bit of quinoa in your diet, it should actually provide most of the proteins and amino acids. And since it is being cultivated in the same regions as pearl millet, so the use of quinoa along with pearl millet can actually lead to much desirable product characteristics. For example, like I'll just come to the fiber content, type of fiber which is present in quinoa, which is quite different from that of pearl millet. So it offers a nice blend of soluble and insoluble dietary fiber, which is much more conducive to preparation of the products. So it is high in lysine and threonine. The digestibility of the protein further increases when the heat treatment is applied, and the dietary fiber content is very high. And the best part is that that 30% of the fiber is soluble, and soluble fiber actually is able to get incorporated well in the product. It does not hamper the structure of the product, and also thickens the product and stabilizes the product. Whereas most of the millets are having a higher of insoluble dietary fiber. So this is going to give us a much better much better material for holding the product together. And most of the people who have worked in this area will actually agree with me that that the product falls apart. So we need something to bind it together, which my friends Dr. Suneha and Dr. Vinitha, they have done with the help of incorporation of gluten. So however, quinoa fiber is also pretty good. So quinoa fiber is 30% of it is soluble, and that 30% of the fiber is having pectic polysaccharides. And pectins, it is available mostly in the fruits, and it is used for making jam, right? So it holds the sugar and the acid together in the jam. So this same fiber is present and this is present only in this crop. Pectin is not available in any other pseudo cereal or millet. So quinoa is the only crop which is having pectins, and they are having a gelatin effect. So this needs to be made use of in the products which are going to come. So these pectic polysaccharides, they consist of rhamnogalactouronine, and then they are having protective effect in gastric lesions, and also like for people who are struggling with the calcium with the chemotherapy of the cancer. So their pectin actually has a very major role in uh, in uh, in controlling the side effects of the radiotherapy and the chemotherapy which is applied to the patients. So this pectin is very useful, and in fact, the doctors advise the consumption of pectins to such patients. So coming now to the fats. Um, So we have the unsaturated is to saturated ratio, which is very high. That is, most of it is unsaturated fat. The fatty acids composition, however, is similar to maize and soyabeans, which is good. Soya fat is having higher PUFA. So, but the best part is that, yes, I'll come to that also. Yeah, so it has a higher alpha linoleic acid content, which which is known to reduce the effects of cardiovascular diseases, cancer, osteoporosis, inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. Now these are the diseases which are impacting every household, and in fact osteoporosis is very common. Inflammatory disorders, inflammation is the cause behind most of the diseases which are taking place. So in the society, so one of the KVK persons was saying that when we go to the village, people are asking us, okay, this is what is happening, and this is they ask us for remedies to their health disorders also. So these are the products which need to be revived. um, so I'm sorry, this is in vivo. So in one of the studies, the rats were fed on a high fructose diet, and when the diet was supplemented with quinoa, the antioxidant capacity of the blood, heart, kidney, lungs, and pancreas was enhanced, and the peroxidation, that is the reactive oxidation species, which are actually impacting the DNA of the animals, that is affected. So the supplementation of quinoa in the diet, it actually reduced the effect of high sugar diet. And one of the best parts I love about quinoa is that, of course, it has a very high oil content, but it never gets rancid. And this is because of the presence of tocopherols, that is vitamin E. The content of vitamin E, that is a natural antioxidant, is very high, and that is what protects the quinoa flour from getting rancid. So for past 5 years, I've been working with quinoa, and never have I encountered this problem of my flour getting rancid. So this is the fatty acids profile of quinoa. So we have a higher amount of polyunsaturated fatty acids in quinoa and amaranth, the two products which I love to work. And also I have worked on buckwheat also. So coming to minerals, so it has very high content of calcium, iron, and potassium, and also magnesium. And the best one of the iron might be lesser as compared to the other millets. However, the bioavailability is very good. So it is also, since it is derived from a vegetarian, like a vegetable, so it has good amount of vitamin B. So it has riboflavin, that is B2, B1, and folic acid. B6 is also very high. The flavonoids content is also high, and most of the major flavonoids are quercetin and camphorol. Also, as I talked, was that most of the people don't know how to actually treat the quinoa because it is bitter in taste. So and that bitterness is actually because of the presence of saponins which are present in the seed coat, and therefore we need to actually wash it properly, give at least 5 washes, and then we need to what I do is I use a rice polisher to take it out, and it takes a few seconds to actually remove the bitterness from the grain, and then I mill it. So saponins, they have anti-carcinogenic, cholesterol lowering, and anti-inflammatory properties. So of course some of it is going to remain, and but then it has a beneficial effect. So this is the work I had done on the various cultivars which were provided to me by Shimla station of the IRI, and these are the amino acids profiles. So you can see the essential amino acids to total amino acids ratio at the bottom is pretty high compared to the other crops. Okay. So these are the chemical scores. Most of the cultivars were having chemical scores greater than 100 for most of the essential amino acids. So these are the various types of products which can be prepared. And in my lab, we have been working on preparation of baked snacks, fried snacks, extruded snacks, pasta. And in one of these extruded snacks, we even incorporated, this is made from amaranth and barnyard millet. We even incorporated beetroot juice in its center. So coming to antioxidants, um, So we have a lot of variation in the antioxidants profile of each of the millets, and it is therefore advised that a mix of millets is much better. And lots of varietal variation is there, but it is not yet explored very well. So the foxtail millet has 47 milligrams per 100 grams of polyphenolics. And also we have tocopherol, that is vitamin E. Proso millet, however, contains lower, and it is much more suitable for muscle mass buildup. In terms of decortication, we are increasing the free phenolic acids, and even extrusion leads to the release of free phenolics. The germination enhances the antioxidant activity. Fermentation also decreases the amount of antioxidants. Reason being, when we are boiling, we are removing most of the soluble phenolics in the boiling water. So then we know very well that it is having a desirable effect on diabetes. I'm sure by in these 10 days training program or 11 days training program, you have all seen these. So extruded products, they showed reduction in the readily digestible carbohydrates and generation of resistant starches. So in case we make them into chapati, the finger millet and wheat, they are having a much better effect on the glycemic load. So these are the effect on cardiovascular diseases. That is, certain millets are having, adiponectin. Okay, so this is this improves the high density lipoprotein content, which is higher in the genetically obese people, and this actually balances out the consumption of proso millet. So the muscle mass is going to build up, and it's not the fat which is going to increase. So the serum triglyceride levels are also improved by incorporation of millets. Then there is a consumption of kodo millet. One second, please. Yeah, consumption of kodo millet inhibits the peroxidation of lipids. That is, in fact, the antioxidant activity is similar to a synthetic antioxidant which is used in foods. So in terms of cancer also, there is lesser incidence of cancer in those populations which have traditionally been consuming sorghum and other millets. And they are not only preventive, but they prevent the progression of the cancer tumor cells. And this has been actually proven with the help of in vitro cell proliferation studies and also by DNA session studies. The progression of the fox millet, progression of cancer cell lines has been inhibited by consumption of foxtail millet extracts. So it also has beneficial effects on aging and antimicrobials. And quinoa and buckwheat, they have a much higher angiotensin reducing inhibitory activity, which is known to have effect on cardiovascular health. Also, there is from foxtail millet, there is an antifungal peptide. So certain millets consumptions are also known to inhibit the progression of skin diseases and fungal related genital associated diseases also. So these are the products which we have prepared in our lab. We have prepared pasta, breads, extruded products, and crackers from millets. And also in today's session, I'm going to introduce you on two of the products which we have prepared from quinoa and pearl millet. So I'll come straight away to that. 1 second, please. I hope it was not very boring. Shall we come to the practical now?
Sure, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Go on.
Yes, I'm coming here. 1 second. One second. So what we are doing here is that we are, hang on. What we are doing is we are preparing a fried snack using quinoa and pearl millet flours, and we have used rice and potato flour or boiled potato as a binder. Okay, so and this snack can actually be boiled, can be baked and even fried. So for the health conscious people, the baked snack is also there. However, the fried savory is much more acceptable. So what we have done is, first of all, so these are hang on, this is okay. So sorry, one. Wait. Basically, there are two practicals which we wanted to show you. So one is preparation of halloor pearl millet noodles, instant noodles. So we know that Maggi or Top Ramen or Yippee noodles, they are they're ubiquitous, actually to snacks. So 1 second, please. So wherever in any part of the country we go, these are the products which one can readily prepare, and they can be found even in the remotest regions of the country. And instant noodles are one segment in which it is considered as a guilt, like consumption we all love, but then it is associated with guilt that it is prepared with refined flour. It is not many people actually know that it is fried also, and we are not many of us are actually incorporating much of vegetables also into it. And most of our children and the youngsters, the Maggie Point is one of the most visited centers in any university. Am I right? Okay. So basically, the preparation of instant pearl millet noodles was done with the help of flour, which has been generated in this project. So these halloor pearl millet noodles, they are they have been prepared. And before I start the video, let me tell you how we prepare it. because the video it's a bit difficult for me to pause. And initially I had planned for it to pause, and then I wanted to talk along with it. But right now I'm finding it a bit difficult. So I'll explain you how it is done. First of all, we take the pearl millet flour, and as Halur pearl millet flour can be very easily kneaded into a dough. That's not a major problem. The ingredients we've used in this are water, and carboxymethyl cellulose was added at 1% level. We added a little bit of salt and some oil. Some oil means only 1 or 2 tablespoons per 100 grams of flour. And also, in order to make it into a much more acceptable form, in order to mask the color of the pearl millet, I prefer adding soya sauce. However, in this case, I have not added. So in case we add flavored soya sauce, which is nowadays available in the market, so that further improves the acceptability of these noodles. And it is kneaded into a dough. It is allowed to rest for development of gluten and relaxation of the proteins which or the stresses which have been impacted on it during the kneading process. So it is allowed to rest for 30 minutes. And then first of all, we have a very simple machine which can actually be used in the KVK levels or in the lab scale levels, and that is it is a handmade machine, noodle making machine, in which first of all we are making sheets of the dough, and gradually we are bringing the cylinders together. We have 2 brass cylinders. We are decreasing the gap between the cylinders and decreasing the thickness of the dough progressively in 3 or 4 stages. Once the desired thickness is achieved, at that point of time, we reverse the machine, and we pass the dough sheet through a set of cutters, which actually um, cuts this sheet into strands. So these strands are then made fried in frying oil, and then these noodles can be actually packed along with the seasoning. And whenever required, these can be boiled in water, just like we do with spaghetti, and then we fry it with vegetable, and it doesn't stick at all. It doesn't stick together, and we saute it with the vegetables. And preferably, since since we normally use soya sauce for for masking the color, in Chinese noodles it comes out very well. So I'm going to share my screen and show the video to you. So we'll start it again. So we brought out the sheet. We are cutting into the strands. We are frying. These are the fried noodles. They are packed, then they are boiled, and this is how it cooks. And this is my son eating and relishing these. Okay, so then I'll show you another video. And this is for this is the polishing of rice. This is millet flour. This is quinoa. We are weighing the ingredients. mixing it with oil, water. We are holding them for 1 hour. Then this is these are the pearl millet quinoa snacks which I was talking of. So pearl millet quinoa snacks, they are made with the, as I said, we have quinoa, pearl millet flour, rice, and potato. It can be even it can be even pearl millet potato flour, or it can be boiled potato, and the formulations are there, and they can be very well given out as a simple technology to in the villages. And it is the developed snack is very nutritious and is highly acceptable, and that is what matters actually. So this is one very healthy snack which can be made from pearl millet and using quinoa also. And we are making use of the binding property of the quinoa along with pearl millet. So first of all, we are mixing the ingredient. We've started with use of rice. We have various the paddy we are milling, and then we are polishing, grinding into flour. And in fact, we have studied the effect of the variety of potato and the rice also on the quality of these sticks. So the dehusked rice was polished, ground into flour, and then it was mixed with the millet flour, pearl millet flour, which is the normal pearl millet flour, not gluten added. Then we added quinoa to it. Also, we've in order to mask the color of pearl millet, we've added turmeric, rice flour, and potato. And why I've used rice is because I needed to do some varietal types of screening on of the type of starch in these sticks. So I couldn't actually use barnyard millet because only one variety of barnyard millet is available. Otherwise, I would always prefer to use barnyard millet. So I'll go into the video first of all. This is the rice husker, paddy husker, paddy polisher. Then you have millet flour, quinoa. We are weighing the ingredients, mixing with oil, water, holding it. And this is, one second. So this is a pasta making machine actually. And one second. Yeah, this is a pasta making machine, and this is basically cold extrusion. So in this we have a mixing setup, and initially the flour is mixed properly, and then it is under high pressure. It is extruded out using a screw at the bottom through a die, and you can obtain any type of shape from the die. It can be either shell shaped, or it can be in the form of sticks, or it can be in the form of pasta or macaroni. So any type of shape, any type of die you can attach to it. And this is similar to the savory making machines, which are hand held, and that can be easily it is not that you need to use only this type of machine, but this is what I had, so I have used this. Otherwise, you can use any sort of simple machine for actually giving shape to the product. So this is a product which came out. This is before frying. This is after. This is during frying. After frying, we've seasoned and packed it. Okay, so this was about preparation of the pearl queen sticks, as I call them. And pearl millet quinoa snake sticks can also be baked, or it can be fried. However, the acceptability of the fried snacks was much higher, and the shelf life of this product is more than 6 months. So in aluminum laminates, when we pack them, the shelf life is pretty high. and since heat treatment is being applied to the perlite floor, it is not getting rancid. Probably the effect of quinoa vitamin E is also having a role in not in the product not getting rancid. Dr. Suneha, should I move ahead with the next this thing, use of RSM?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Okay. So another topic which was told to me was could be of interest to you was is the use of response surface methodology in development and designing of the products and optimizing the ingredients. So so RSM is 1 second. So response surface methodology, are you able to see my screen?
No, Shalini.
Okay, 1 second. I should have made it into merged it into one actually. 1 second and show. Oh.
हो गया
Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. So response surface methodology in designing of foods is a very commonly used tool, and I'm sure you will most of you might have used it or are going to use it in due course of time. So I'll tell you about my brush with the response surface methodology. So we used to randomly try out different combinations and then finalize. When we finally brought out the results, they were never in a proper shape because in foods it's not this maths which works, but it is mostly there's a lot of art which is also involved. So however, and that the data which came out was of never, we could not actually statistically explain the data. So a few years back I came across this tool, and since then it is very useful in designing my experiments, and also whatever results are there, I can bring them forth in a sort of a statistically significant, I can present it in a manner which is acceptable to scientific community, and we can explain the results and the variations very nicely. So first of all, whenever I use RSM, there's a lot of back end work which is involved. So initially when we are doing the response surface methodology experiments, prior to that we work on whenever we are using a combination of ingredients, we need to fix a ratio between which a range between which these ingredients are going to be used, and within which limits are they going to be used. So we need to first, before we actually start our using the response surface methodology, we need to conduct lots of preliminary trials, so that what is going to work for the product and what is not. So a broad range or a narrow range needs to be defined for each ingredient to be used into the product. Yeah. So one of the most common designs in response surface methodology is box Behnken design. In this study, what we had done was we made use of amaranth flour along with chickpea flour to make gluten-free bread. So in this, we needed to include certain enzymes to prevent the staling of breads. So breads which are made from millets or pseudo cereals, they get rancid very fast. So we needed to add certain enzymes to it, and lots of preliminary trials were done to define the range of the amylase, xylanase, and papain enzymes which were to be added in the flour. So the range of amylase which was used in this study ranged from 1 to 11 units per 100 grams. Xylanase, the range was 4 to 12 units per 100 grams, and papain was 0 to 0.2 units per 100 grams. And you can have any, for example, in case you have any example, you can have maybe the effect of sugar, salt, and acid in a particular juice or any product. You can have anything. So you need to define the range, and when we are defining this range, we also need to take into the legal considerations what range it should be allowed. Certain times we are adding additives, and in many of the studies I have seen the amount of emulsifier which has been added into a scientific paper are not in the allowable range. So legal limits are also supposed to be taken consideration of when we are designing this experiment. So in this case, we have used amylase, xylanase, and papain. So and this is the type of equation which is used. So we have certain responses. Responses means what are the characteristics of the product which we are measuring quantifiably in for determining whether what is the effect of this combination on the product. So you have 17 experiments in which we are seeing what is the effect of amylase, xylanase, papain alone, as well as in combinations in different ratios altogether. So this is a very important tool whenever we have to see the combined effect of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 10 ingredients together. So mostly it is used for 3 or more sort of components. And the responses, that is for example, in case of bread, in case we see the firmness of the bread, hardness, adhesiveness, springiness, cohesiveness, chewiness, dough stickiness, extensibility, all these properties they were measured, and this is the equation which is used to fit. There are linear effect, quadratic effect, and interaction effects which are observed of each and every component which is there. So you have y is equals b naught, that is the constant, and this is the effect of each ingredient with the other one. So you have a coefficient for each ingredient. When we look into the table, I'll be able to explain it much better. This is the interactive effect, and these are the coefficients, and these are the asymptotic values. So you can use many softwares for it. There is Minitab, then you have Design Expert, you have even in SAS also you can do these things. So this is the type of curve you normally use to depict the range of results you obtain. So this is a quaternary graph which is showing the effect of xylanase and amylase on the specific volume of the breads which was obtained, and these are the range of values which are obtained. Okay, so you can see that when amylase is increasing from 0 to 12, the specific volume is also increasing from low to high. Similarly, when we are increasing the amount of xylanase, however, there is a decrease in the levels of the specific volume. So somewhere in the middle, we are having an optimum range. So this is the type of data we obtain. So these are the models which are used. So this is the p-value of the model. So p-value of the model is indicating that the effect is statistically significant at 5% level of significance. So these are the coefficients. So this is B naught. This is the effect of amylase. So this coefficient is going to tell us whether how much is the effect of this amylase on the bread firmness is. This is xylanase and this is papain. However, the effect was not significant. Alone, the effect of amylase, xylanase, and papain was not significant. However, when amylase was used in combination with xylanase, there was a softening effect. That is, the firmness of the bread decreased and it was statistically significant. Similarly, amylase with papain, when it was used, the effect was highly significant, and you can see the amount of it is minus 329. So there is a very high impact on decreasing the firmness. That is, the bread is softening very well when amylase and papain are being used together. Okay, so these are the quadratic effects, and the R square values, they show us the values. So this is the effect on hardness. So you can see the p-values and the coefficients, and both these p-values and the coefficients, they need to be considered for determining the effect of each component on the quality or the property of that bread, of that product. So you can have different types of models. You can see here I have used 2F1 model. Here is quadratic, here it is quadratic. So there are different types of models which are available in these softwares, and they are pretty easy to use, and there are lots of video tutorials which are also available. Later on, we optimize, once we are done with the regression analysis of our data, we go in, we obviously want an optimized set of results. And when we are optimizing, um, you just don't blindly go in for optimization. You need to give a level of importance to each of the parameter which you are measuring. For example, in terms of bread, I would say the softness of the bread is very important. Similarly is the hardness. The springiness of the bread is very important. Adhesiveness and the gumminess, resilience, etc. are okay. But then these are the parameters which are most important to me, and therefore I will use them. So I give them some, I can also give them some targets. And the target which I gave was that of refined wheat flour bread. So the target firmness was 300 newtons, hardness was 6 newtons, and these are the other characteristics which are required in the bread. And then the optimized combination was given to me. Okay. Then apart from box Venkan design, there is another approach which is used, and that is very commonly adopted, is mixture design. So this is one paper, because I myself have not, I have used mixture design, but I haven't yet published it. So I'll be using this paper in which they have made a peanut based beverage, and they have seen the effect of emulsifier and stabilizer on its stability. Okay, so they have adopted a simplex centroid mixture design. So they have used lecithin, then this is propylene glycol alginate, that is modified form of alginate, and this is xanthan gum. So these are the three emulsifiers which they have used to used alone. Here you can see this is control 000. Then you have 100 00. This is lecithin alone. This is PGA alone, SO2. SO3 is having xanthan gum alone. Then you have a blend of only lecithin and PGA. Then you have lecithin and xanthan gum together. So you have, and in SO7 you have all in equal proportions. So this is the way you can actually design your experiment, and this can be statistically analyzed, and it can be reported very well. So again, softwares like Minitab, SAS, Design Expert, they are all used to design these experiments, and you can analyze them. So these are the attributes which were observed. This is the effect on pH. This is the effect on degree bricks, water activity. This is the effect of viscosity. Of course, when we are talking of a beverage, the viscosity is very important. Then this is a visual stability index, whether it is settling or not. This is the viscosity ratio, and this is the effect on color. So you can see a wide variation of the use of these emulsifiers on the viscosity particularly. It is ranging from 5 to as high as 55, even 65, right? So the effect on viscosity and the stability of the beverages is very important, and this is one example in which they used. So here they have based on the visual stability index, they have optimized the combination. So this is they used lecithin at 0.82%, PGA at 0.98, xanthan gum at 1, and here is the R square value is very high, 0.995. Root mean square error is less, and ideally we should be using adjusted R square, which is also more than 0.98. So this is the way things are optimized. I'll show you in another graph. Okay. So basically, these are the types of quaternary graphs, surface contour plots which you obtain. And these are the types of optimizations which are occurring. The ranges they are observed. One second. There's some overlap here. Okay. So yeah. So these are the types of graphs which you obtain for each and every characteristics. Like for example, this is a visual stability index. This is degree bricks. This is the color LAB values, effect on pH, water activity, and this is the desirability. So the desirability close to 1 is what is what is desired. So you need to apply rankings on the importance of each attribute, and then desirability in which greater than 0.9 is expected. And so this is the effect of this is the surface contour plot which is generated out after it, and these are pretty easy to use. So I would invite any questions in case there are.
So if there is no question, then so
I'm sure there must be one or two.
Yes, excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, Anita.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I want to know that means what parameters did you access for determining the shelf life of the products?
Okay. Particularly for fried products, we are using the acid value, free fatty acid content, and initially the free fatty acid content is measured, and only after a certain point of time the peroxide values are measured. Also, we use the textural attributes, sensory acceptability, sensory profile analysis, and moisture content for these products.
Okay, ma'am. One more question, ma'am. Have you means tested these products for microbiological parameters?
See, we have these products as fried.
Okay, ma'am.
And since the moisture content is less than 5%,
yes,
so I haven't actually gone for microbiological estimations. However, whenever we are making any products which are which are having a moisture content beyond 10%, we would advise microbiological tests also.
Okay. Ma'am, I have more 1 to 2 questions.
Please.
The
Yes.
next question is that you have made this quinoa based pasta product, na? So
It is a snack, Anita.
okay, ma'am. So ma'am, what was the blending ratio?
Okay. Basically, we have used at 100 gram flour level, we have used pearl millet as 55, and 35 was quinoa, and the rest are rice and potato flour.
Okay, ma'am. And ma'am, you have also talked about RSM applications in food design, na? So,
Yeah.
ma'am, like for example, how do we know that which this particular software is used for this particular parameter? And second thing is that like from where we will get these designs, like which means how we will get these softwares.
Yes, Anita, I knew that such a keen researcher like you are going to have lots of questions about it, and I'm really happy. So, really happy to help also. So, myself, I'm pretty pretty complacent with the use of these softwares. They're very easy to use.
Okay, ma'am.
First of all, so not much of expertise is needed. So whenever you need any help, I'm available to you. So regarding these softwares, their 30-day free trial is there.
Okay, ma'am.
So they require use of your official email ID.
Okay, ma'am.
And from there you can download free trial versions.
Okay.
I have used is Minitab and Design Expert for quite a long time, and used various versions also. They're pretty easy, and you can download the free trial versions and then make use of the options which are available. Otherwise, the video tutorials are also there. Otherwise, I'm also always there for you.
Okay, ma'am, one thing more. Like, for example, you have given the example of this bread where you use this software. No? So, like, for example, if I am working on beverages, so means which software I will use? Means I have to.
Any software is useful. Any of these, Minitab कर लो, Design Expert use कर लो, SAS use कर लो.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, could you please repeat the names of the software? Minitab?
Yeah, MINITAB.
Hanji. Yes, ma'am.
Minitab version 16 is now there. Oh no, sorry, version 19. Version 19 is there. Then you have Design Expert.
Yes, ma'am.
DESIGN EXPERT, Design Expert.
Yes, ma'am. Hanji.
And SAS will be available in most of the agricultural university websites.
Okay, ma'am.
And any problem, feel free to contact me.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
I call myself a hacker in these, and like for these softwares, anytime I can do it blindly.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for the informative talk.
Welcome. Any other questions? Would any of the KVK functionaries be interested in demonstration of these technologies in their villages or in their KVKs? Because I chose these technologies particularly because they are very easy to apply in the field. We have lots of other technologies which use high-end equipments, but these are the ones which were simplest, and they can be actually transferred to the field very easily. Okay, Dr. Suneha, I believe.
Okay, Dr. Shalini, if there is no more question, then it's time to give thanks. So you all agreed that today's talk is like a virtual feast for all of us, as we have got the flavor of many tasty and healthy snacks with the ample of nutritional information of different underutilized crops. So thank you, Shalini, for such a wonderful talk. So now I hand over the to Dr. Ranjan. Dr. Ranjan.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. So really, it was a very scintillating talk. So a lot of things to learn for us also. And the intensity of questions shows that really it was very useful for our panelists also. So thank you, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time. Thank you.
It was a pleasure and nice meeting all of you.
So now we'll move on to the last part of this 12 days short-term training program. So that is, if you recall yesterday, I was just presenting walk and talk, and one thing was left over. That was one walk and talk show. So that I'm going to share with you people, and then we'll close this with a short discussion between the panelists and the coordinators. So let's have a look on one more video which we shoot during the crop season. So definitely some of the information, it will be beneficial for all of you. So let's have a look on that.
I welcome you all in the fields of pearl millet. Today we are going to discuss certain features of land races and hybrids. And we are going to be with us Dr. Ranjit Ranjan Kumar, a senior scientist from Division of Biochemistry. And he is extensively working on different aspects of pearl millet. So it is important to understand the genomic component and how the genome of these pearl millet transcribed or translated into different forms of molecules, which gives different characteristics. So it is our pleasure to welcome you, Dr. Ranjan, here in the fields of pearl millet at IRI. Thank you. And now we want to understand the difference between the hybrids, composite varieties, and the land races, which we can see here in this field. And then you please explain the difference at their transcriptome level and how to understand different good characters which the breeders will take forward in making different hybrids.
Thank you, ma'am. So here in field, so you can see we have a hybrid here, and then you can also see the land races. So there is a very one mark liner about the land races, that it is basically a hidden treasure for the breeders. The reason is that all the genetic or the wild genes basically are present as such in land races if you compare it with the hybrid. So if breeder has to identify some novel genes, so the way out is that they will fish out the land races, they will try to extract gene from there, and then they can use a respective donor for the breeding program. If we see the nutrition from the nutrition point of view, so land races is far better than that of the hybrids. So whether it is the taste, whether it is the sugar content, whether it is the other macro as well as micronutrients. So it is far better in land races than the hybrids. But there is one problem with the land races, that yield is very less. Okay. So it's very less as compared to hybrid.
So from where the one can get the land races? What is the origin of land races? Because hybrids breeders are developing. So can you explain briefly what are land races?
Yeah, basically these land races are specific to a particular region or locality. So each, like if we talk of Rajasthan, so there are specific regions where they have their wild originated species of pearl millet, which they have preserved from last 50 years or even more than that. So those are called as land races, which has not been used in the continuity hybrid program of the pearl millet. So they have a specific character because of which villagers or farmers, they have preserved that in their own origin.
Can you name one or two name of the land races?
Even in my transcriptome, so I'll be putting this. We have Damodar Bajri, Chadi Bajri, and recently, ma'am, our Honorable Prime Minister, so he also used one land race's name, that is Jafra Bajri, which has been originated from Gujarat, which is very sweet in taste, and that was quoted by Honorable Prime Minister also.
Okay, so you mean that they have very good character, but they lack in yield.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you have, as a biochemist, if you have to study what is there in their component, genomic component, or in the terms of their transcriptome, which makes them superior in that trait, so that breeders will take that trait and develop hybrids.
Yeah. So, ma'am, actually, if we talk about this land races, so if you see the flow chart, so basically, if breeder has to use or breeder has to find out some gene from the land races, so there is a big cycle or it required number of years to identify a specific donor line, which is land races based, and then they will identify specific QTLs. Then only it can be used for the breeding program. But now with the advent of technology, so we have a technology through which maybe within a month or two, you can identify not one gene or gene specific trait, but you can identify a list of genes which are responsible for a specific trait. And it's not only that you are going to identify, you will have a sequence also, function of those genes also from a specific trait. And then easily, it will be easy for the breeder to decide which one they should target for in their own germplasm or population. So that is the advantage of transcriptomics.
Okay, so can you little bit expand your research in terms that how you did this transcriptome study with respect to land races?
Exactly.
And what are the outcomes so that those outcomes can be used by the people?
So, ma'am, actually, we under niche area of excellence. So, this was one of the committed objective. So, we also plan to execute this transcriptome in pearl millet, diverse genotype of pearl millet. So, pearl millet is basically an orphan crop. So, if we talk in terms of genomics, ma'am, so almost all the important crop has been sequenced. If you see the genome pattern, so has been sequenced. But pearl millet was left over, and only last year, ICRI said, so they have taken an attempt, and first time they sequenced the genome of pearl millet, but that is with error. So now coming on to transcriptome. So since pearl millet was not considered as the important crop, so people, they have not much focused on this. So now with the advent of different this nutri-cereal tag and then celebration of National Year of Millets, so now people, they have started working on this. So I would like to share that till date, ma'am, on public domain, we don't have even a single gene for some of the important enzymes which are responsible for rancidity like lipase or polyphenol oxidase or peroxidase. So if you search, you will not get even a single gene. So we started this particular planning with the idea that we'll identify some of the candidate genes which are responsible for this rancidity. So what we did was we selected 4 different genotypes. So there was 2 land races, Chari Bazri and Damodar Bazri. Then there was...
These are both from Rajasthan?
Yeah, Rajasthan. And then we selected one from iodine. So that is Pusa 1201.
It's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid. And then we selected one composite, Pusa composite 701. Okay. So altogether, we selected 4 diverse genotype of pearl millet. And then sample was collected during developing stage of this spike. So developing grains, so that we collected using the protocol. And then we isolated high quality RNA. And that was used for the transcriptome.
So do you mean that like this is a very ripe grain?
Yeah.
Or you can see any of the... So you have selected the, you have isolated RNA at different stages?
At different stages and from the developing grains.
Okay, so what is the purpose of taking it from the developing grains?
Yeah, so our idea was, ma'am, since we are working on nutrition and then rancidity aspect. So our idea was that that was the stage, grain filling stage where all these enzymes and respective genes expresses. So we wanted to quantify and identify all those transcripts which are expressing at that particular stage, which is more prone to the synthesis of these enzymes. So that's why we targeted developing stage.
It's a very good initiative, Dr. Ranjan, and I appreciate the efforts of your team. So you just please elaborate, because in some of your talk, I heard the term pearlomics.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by this is the term coined by you, and why you want to treat it as pearlomics?
Yeah, actually, ma'am, I'll start with the term omics. So omics is something like every morning we used to chant Om. So this term has been coined from the Om, means omnipotent, present everywhere in toto. So here, actually, I add the pearl millet with the omics, means the idea was to coin a word where we are going to identify everything, all genes which are present in my tissue at particular event of time. So that was the idea why I coined pearlomics.
Okay. So now, based on your Perlnomics, can you briefly tell us that what are the outcomes based on several genes you must have got in your transcriptome study? What are the key genes which you feel contribute towards the density?
Yeah. So I would like to tell ma'am that once when we got the data, so we started doing bioinformatic characterization. So the first thing which we did was that this rice genome has very close association with pearl millet. So it's almost more than 92 or 93% homology is there in the genome of rice and pearl millet. So we mapped whatever reads we got. So we mapped this onto the rice genome to find out the respective coding sequences. And we could able to identify total 3 lakh, more than 3 lakhs transcripts. And then when we mapped it and when we filtered, so we got almost 42,000 full length gene linked with different nutrient traits, as well as the rancidity related parameters. So out of this, ma'am, if I share like lipase, as I told that we don't have any gene, we identified 54 potential transcripts of lipase. So this is new. These are novel genes. Similarly, polyphenol oxidase. So 12 novel polyphenol oxidase transcripts we identified, and size is from 700 to 1 kb. So now we have a software like ab initio software where using this transcript as a bait, we can predict the full length, and then based on gene specific primer, easily we can clone these genes.
Okay. So what is the advantage of cloning so many genes?
First thing is, madam, transcriptome helps us to enrich the genetic resources, because until unless we know the gene, so it's very difficult to manipulate at protein level. So at gene level, it's very easy to manipulate. So for first thing is, it will help us to enrich the genetic resources. As I told, even not only the rancidity pathway link gene, but from the starch biosynthesis pathway also, in pearl millet, we identified 12 noble soluble starch synthase gene, almost 6 noble ADP glucopyrophosphorylase gene. And like this, so almost all the important families or groups which we know. So we could able to identify those transcripts. And now in a very aggressive mode, we are cloning those genes, and we got success in lipase also. So 2 lipase already we have amplified and cloned. So the idea is, once we have a gene, and then easily through heterologous system, you can purify the recombinant protein, and then you can do enzyme kinetics. You can find out what are the traits through which you can regulate those enzymes, and then it will be easy to stop this whole process of rancidity.
So in common terms, I can say that various enzymes which are responsible to contribute to rancidity or to different nutritional traits, you are able to get the sequence of those genes through your transcriptomic study. And now based on those sequence, you are now cloning them.
Exactly.
And by using that cloned product, you are able to evaluate how the enzyme performs in a particular different type of gene.
Exactly.
That is the purpose. So now briefly tell us, for a common man to understand, like our Prime Minister mentioned that the Jafrabadi land race is sweeter. Or what do you mean by a sweeter in taste, and what type of enzymes may contribute to the sweet character?
Actually, sweetness is just because of the simple sugar now. And see, if you take the land races, as I told, so very less work has been done, particularly in land races, from the biochemical point of view, from the molecular point of view. So definitely sweetness is because of the sugar. And now we have to do physiochemical characterization as well as molecular characterization to find out that why in land races simple sugar are present, whereas in other pearl millet it gets converted into starch and then it will accumulate in the grain. So that difference we have to find out, we have to characterize using these tools.
So it means your studies related to transcriptome and biochemical characterization will further help the breeders to take good traits from the land races. And because you told that land races, they are not very good in yield. So if you have good traits, you can identify and take them to hybrid, then we have a win-win situation, both in terms of nutritional quality, rancidity, and yield.
Exactly, and one more advantage, ma'am. So when we are doing transcriptome, so this helps us to find out the SNPs or the SSR markers also.
Okay.
So suppose if I identify a set of genes, differentially expressed gene, or maybe normal genes or novel genes. So this will help us to find out the specific SNPs which are present on that respective gene. So now suppose if I have a gene for lipase, and if there is a specific SNPs on that, so I can use this as a molecular marker to evaluate thousands and thousands of populations or germ class which I have. So easily I can say that that specific lipase, which is responsible for rancidity, is present in this population number. So I can also use this in a positive way for evaluation, for screening, for differentiating between different germ class, not only the rancidity, but even nutrient related genes also. So easily we can find out the SNPs as well as the SSR markers. So SSR markers are also nowadays very popularly used for this variety development. So this transcriptome will give us the SNPs also, like in our Perlomics, we identified almost 32,000 SSR markers. And in case of land races, the number is more as compared to the hybrids. Even the transcripts, so the number of transcripts identified in land races was more as compared to the hybrids.
So why you feel that the number of transcripts are more in land races as compared to hybrids?
Yeah, so as I told you, land races, if you take any biological phenomenon, if we take the stress tolerance, so if you see land races, they are more robust as compared to the hybrid or the composite. So this robustness comes because there is a specific gene which expresses and provides the robustness. The same is the nutrition. So there is a specific gene which expresses and then provides the niche for the accumulation or expression of a specific nutrient. So, but in case of hybrid, so maybe that gene is absent or it has been evolved or lost. So that is the difference why we could observe more transcripts in case of land races as compared to the.
That is very interesting. It means whatever the treasure we have in the form of land races, it has several new characters which is coded by many more transcripts, which we are now lacking in our some of the hybrids.
Exactly.
That is a very interesting point you are telling. Now tell me one more thing. I heard the term bioprojects. So we know what are projects, but please explain what are bioprojects.
Yeah, actually when we plan an experiment for transcriptome, so that when the data is generated, so like when you sequence a gene, so we are submitting in NCBI GenBank. So like this NCBI, they have a specific portal for the transcriptome experiment. So when you execute a transcriptome experiment, so data will be used. It will be 90 GB, 100 GB, more than that. So they have a specific portal called as bioprojects, where all these biological experiment and projects can be uploaded, submitted, and then NCBI will give you a specific accession number. The flow chart is, first you have to submit your data into a sequence read archive of NCBI. So this is called as SRA. Okay. SRA database. So once you submit this, then they will tell you to create a biological number. So that you have to create, and then you can easily submit this into the bio project. And once submission is complete, they will give you accession number. And if somebody has to use that data, they have to give reference or the accession.
Okay. So are you able to submit certain bio projects?
Yeah, ma'am. So in case of all millet, we have already submitted 8 bio projects, and characterization is going on. And very soon we are expecting a very good paper from all.
Very nice, very interesting. But can you please briefly expand that whatever data you have submitted in the form of bio project, this is in public domain and many people can use it?
No, actually there is a condition, ma'am. So when you submit your data in bio project, so they will give you option. So whether you want to make it public after the publication, or maybe give a specific date when you want your data to be publicly available. So you have two options. Either maybe after publication you can make it public, which most of the time people they are doing, or maybe you can give a specific date after 1 year, after 8 months. So after that, automatically it will be open for the public.
That is interesting. So by look also you can very well see that if this is the land race.
Yeah, land race.
And this is your pipeline. So even by physiologically also you can see a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And as you are mentioning that there is a lot of difference in terms of nutrition, in terms of biotic abiotic stress, in terms of rancidity. So by all means you feel that our natural or wild resources are much better, and they are having many more genes to code for. That's what your transcriptome study says.
Exactly. And one more thing, because in case of land resources, since farmer, they have to preserve this hidden treasure, they are not getting anything out of that. So many a times we are losing most of the important land resources. So as a breeder or as a biochemist or as a scientist, we have a honest that we should give equal importance to our hidden treasure as well as the crop which we are growing, especially hybrid and composites. And every time we are popularizing that, so equally our thrust should be on land bases also.
Because that is important. You are doing a wonderful job, and it is important to preserve our heritage like this. And if by your science, by your transcriptome data, if you are able to lay hands on certain markers by which you can take these important traits which these land races are having into your commercial hybrids, then that will be a great contribution in terms of formula.
Yeah, because if a breeder, they will get the marker, potential marker man, so that duration of variety development, that will drastically decrease. So maybe within 2 or 3 years, they will come out with a good variety with less rancidity in the powder. So that is the advantage. So the duration of breeding will decrease if we help by sharing the information of potential SSR or SNRs.
So very good information you gave about the genetic resource in the form of land races and how the different studies are important. Any other aspect which you feel from your experiment came out and you want to share with us?
Yeah, when we started this transcriptome, so initially there was a problem in isolating the RNA. So we tried almost for a month. So in corn millet, I think the normal kit doesn't work. So we have to modify, and we modified our protocol by adding sodium chloride pinch into the triazole, and then we got very good RNA. So that was one modification which we did. Regarding result, so one biggest problem with transcriptome is because advantage is that you can find out the novel gene as well as the conserved or known gene. And it's not only the identification. So once gene is with you, you can characterize the pathway, you can analyze the interactome of gene, you can reconstruct the network. But the problem is, if crop is not popular or not known, or if there is no reference gene sequence, so it's very difficult to predict this nobility. So characterization itself is a problem, and you have to depend on some other crop which is not related to palm millet. So most of the time, until unless you do the wet lab work with 100% surety, it's difficult to conclude.
I agree.
So that is one.
Because of the lack of genome sequences in a particular order, you have to compare everything with rice, and then you have to validate in your lab whether those sequence totally is for those enzymes or not. So it's a very interesting point you told us about the RNA isolation part. And anytime, whenever you are starting a new area, you feel little hiccups. So this is interesting story about transcriptomics in pearl millet. And I appreciate your efforts, and I want to congratulate you and your team for doing such a wonderful work. And I am thankful to Niche Area of Excellence project from ICR, where in which you are one of the project member. And I am quite hopeful that in the coming years, after validation and after a complete analysis, you are able to come out with several genes in hand and linked it with some markers so that breeders will develop many varieties and hybrids based on the genetic resource hidden in these land races. And thank you once again for joining in this area, in this beautiful pearl millet fields. Thank
It's
you.
my pleasure, ma'am. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. So, as per the planning, I think this was the last part which we planned in this 12 days training program. So now we are almost at the fag end of this. If you have any queries, anything to discuss, you are most welcome. And then we'll take off.
Okay. Sir,
Yeah, please.
so actually I have two queries, rather I think In near future, can you please organize a workshop on how to file a patent? And second is, how can we register a food product?
Yeah, so ma'am, if you recall our PI, she told that October, we are already into a planning to organize a training or a
Yes, sir.
workshop in Presencia. So we'll try to include these two aspects which you have mentioned now.
Okay, sir.
We'll try to include. And
Okay,
thank you
sir.
for your suggestion because these two are important ones.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, in February, I went to Panchkula for Haryana DST presentation. So,
yeah, please.
हाँ तो सर मैं वहां पे गई थी प्रेजेंटेशन के लिए हरियाणा डीएसटी में I had submitted the project and they asked me means how will you register the product. So I had no idea about that and I simply said I have no idea, but unfortunately I didn't get that project and I really want to know means how can we register the product. And second thing, when I was in my PhD, then I worked on one fruit that is crab apple, which was rich in this pectin content. And when I made leather bar, so there was no need to add extra pectin. So that's why, sir, I really want that how can we register a food product?
No, very rightly pointed out. And we have experts also. I think Shalini ma'am, she wants to say something.
Yeah,
ma'am.
Dr. Anita, yes.
Ma'am.
Anita, I know you're quite passionate about it. Thing is that when you have a product, first of all, you're going to look for a patent uniqueness. So in Google Patents.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in Google Patents repository, either you or any of the consultants you can hire. For this purpose, you need to look whether it is whether there is any record which is existing for this.
Okay, ma'am.
And then once the patent uniqueness is established, then
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
supposed to file the application for this. And you have to, in case you look into any of the patent applications, you're supposed to actually elaborate on the uniqueness of your product. And there's a lot of technicality which is involved. So of course you are going to generate the inputs for this, but you will need the help of some person who is already doing it. So you are in CUH, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You can hire the services of some people whom who are into it, and it should not be very difficult.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, one thing more, like for example, I had developed
also one more thing.
Yes, sir.
That particular idea or that particular aspect on which you are filing the patent should not have been presented anywhere.
Okay, ma'am.
Anywhere written or poster, any research paper, any thesis, it should not be. So I have done this mistake myself.
And I have also done it. So
yeah, that's what I like. We are so much enthused about our results that we publish them in abstract books or somewhere, even though we didn't present it. So in one of the in my case, like we had sent an abstract somewhere, and actually we never presented it, but then it got published in the abstract book. And so there the reference was already there, so it was already prior published, so we could not actually file a patent for this. So be very careful that in case you are filing a patent for any product, I'm sure you will be doing so many more in due course of your career.
Yes,
so do not disclose it written in any forum.
Okay, ma'am.
At any platform, be it poster, be it talk, be it any paper or anything. So be very exclusive about it. And like you can file an idea patent also, and you can file a process patent.
Yes,
and then you can file a product patent also.
Okay,
so take your institute is quite flexible, and I'm sure you can take help of some consultant.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So now maybe next 5 minutes we'll have informal talk and then we'll take off. So if you have any other thing to share, please come and please share your view. Last 5 minutes for informal interaction. So I don't think so that we have anything left over. So now we are at the end of this 12 days short-term training program, which was on journey of pearl millet. So now our journey also end regarding this training program at this juncture. So once again, let me thank each one of you for being the wonderful participants and wonderful panelists. So really, we also enjoyed and learned a lot of things from you people. So last 12 days was only pearl millet and pearl millet. And today, really, it was a fascinating talk by Dr. Salni Rudragor. And so it was like a full circle completed. We started with the land, then a couple of talk was on lab-based work, and then lastly, we completed this with the process product. So I think full circle is complete. So once again, let me thank each one of you for joining, for applying and then joining and completing this training program. And within a few minutes, you are going to receive the e-certificates also, which we have already sent on your registered mail. So if nothing to share, so once again, thank you all. Thanks a lot. So we'll take signing off from this NA training program. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ranjan sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.